How would you discover a talent for football in a place that has no ball? This is not a riddle. It is a description of most human lives. Consider a child born with the hands of a pianist, the particular length of fingers, the specific neural architecture, the instinct for rhythm and melody. Everything required to become extraordinary at something. But this child is born in a village with no piano, no keyboard, no instrument of any kind. The child grows up, lives a full life, dies, and never once touches the thing that would have revealed who they were. They were a pianist who never knew it, not because they lacked talent, because they lacked the mirror. This is true for football and pianos. It is also true for things we do not have names for. Talents that require conditions so specific that most people never encounter them. Ways of being that would have fit perfectly if only the right circumstances had arrived. How many people have lived and died as strangers to themselves, not because they failed to look inward, because the mirror that would have shown them who they were never appeared. There is a Russian writer who understood this problem better than almost anyone. Leo Tolstoy wrote 2 short works that, taken together, form a complete diagnosis of the human condition. The first is called The Death of Ivan Ilyich. The second is called How Much Land Does a Man Need? They seem to be about different things, but they are about the same thing. They are about mirrors. The mirrors we find, the mirrors we never find, and the mirrors that lie to us. Let us begin with Ivan Ilyich. Ivan is a man who does everything right. He pursues the correct career. He marries the correct woman. He buys the correct furniture. He cultivates the correct friendships. He advances at the correct pace. He is, by every measure his society provides, a successful man. He does not ask whether this is the life he wants. The question does not occur to him. He simply does what is expected, and what is expected is clear. The path is laid out. He walks it. And then, in middle age, Ivan falls ill. A minor injury becomes something more serious. Doctors are consulted. Treatments are attempted. Nothing works. Slowly, then rapidly, Ivan begins to die. It is only on his deathbed that Ivan asks the question he has avoided his entire life. What if it was all wrong? Not wrong in some small way. Wrong entirely. What if the life he lived, the correct life, the respectable life, was not his life at all? What if he spent his entire existence walking someone else's path, sitting for someone else's portrait, looking into a mirror that showed him what society wanted to see, rather than what was actually there? Ivan Ilyich dies in agony. Not physical agony, though there is that too. Existential agony. The agony of a man who realizes, at the very end, that he was a stranger to himself, that he never found the mirror that would have revealed who he actually was. This is the first problem of mirrors. Some people never find one at all. They live in villages without pianos. They grow up in environments where the thing that would have revealed them simply does not exist. They spend their lives as strangers to themselves. But there is a second problem, perhaps even more dangerous. Some people find mirrors, but the mirrors lie. Tolstoy's second story is about a peasant named Pahom. Pahom is not poor, but he wants more. Specifically, he wants land. He believes that if he had enough land, he would be happy. He would be secure. He would be somebody. At the beginning of the story, Pahom says something that reveals everything. He says, "If I had plenty of land, I shouldn't fear the devil himself." This is not just boasting. It is a declaration of faith. Land is his God. Land is what will save him. Land is the mirror in which he wants to see himself. Through various circumstances, Pahom acquires land, a little at first, then more. Each acquisition satisfies him briefly, then the hunger returns. More land, always more. The satisfaction lasts shorter each time. The hunger grows stronger. Tolstoy is showing us something about the nature of false mirrors. They do not fail to show you anything. They show you something very clearly. But what they show you is your appetite, not yourself. And the more you feed an appetite, the larger it grows. Eventually, Pahom hears of a distant people called the Bashkirs who will sell land cheaply. The deal is simple. For 1,000 rubles, Pahom can have as much land as he can walk around in a single day. Whatever territory he circumscribes between sunrise and sunset will be his. Pahom arrives and begins walking at dawn. The land is beautiful, fertile, endless. He walks and walks, expanding his circuit, unable to stop himself from including just a little more. That hill, that stream, that perfect field. Each time he thinks of turning back, he sees something else worth having. The mirror keeps showing him more to want, more to need, more to include in the boundary of himself. As the sun begins to set, Pahom realizes he has gone too far. He must run to return to his starting point before sunset, or he will lose everything. He runs. His heart pounds. His lungs burn. He pushes himself beyond all limits. The Bashkirs watch from the starting point. They cheer him on. They can see he is dying. But Pahom cannot stop. The mirror will not let him. More. Just a little more. Pahom reaches the starting point just as the sun touches the horizon. He collapses. Blood flows from his mouth. He is dead. His servant digs a grave, 6 feet long. That is how much land a man needs. Pahom found a mirror. The mirror was land, and the mirror lied to him. It told him that land was what he needed. That land was what would make him whole. That land was the answer to the question of who he was. He looked into this mirror and saw a man who needed more, always more. But the mirror was not showing him himself. It was showing him a reflection of his hunger. And hunger, by its nature, can never be satisfied by feeding it. This is the second problem of mirrors. Not the absence of mirrors, but the presence of false ones. Mirrors that show you something and convince you it is yourself. Mirrors that give you an identity, a purpose, a direction, but the identity is borrowed, the purpose is imposed, and the direction leads nowhere. Ivan Ilyich never found a mirror. Pahom found one, but it was the wrong kind. Both died without knowing who they were. Consider now how this applies beyond these 2 Russian peasants. Consider a person who is told from childhood that success means a certain career, a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. The path is laid out. The expectations are clear. The person follows the path, not because it calls to them, but because it is the path that exists. It is the only mirror available. They become the doctor, the lawyer, the engineer. They achieve what they were supposed to achieve, and they feel empty, not because they failed, because they succeeded at something that was never theirs to succeed at. They looked into the mirror of social expectation and saw a successful person. But they never asked whether the mirror was showing them something true. They never wondered whether there was a different mirror somewhere, one that would show them something else entirely. This person is Ivan Ilyich. They did everything right. The rightness was the problem. Consider another person who rejects the expected path. They will not be a doctor or lawyer. They will pursue their passion. They will follow their dream. They find something that excites them, that seems to promise meaning, and they chase it with everything they have. But what if the passion was not really theirs? What if it was simply a different kind of mirror? one that showed them rebellion rather than conformity, but a mirror that was equally false? What if they spent their life chasing a dream that was never truly their dream, just the negation of someone else's expectation? This person is Pahom. They found a mirror and ran toward it until it killed them. The mirror was not social expectation. It was the rejection of social expectation. But rejection is still a relationship. Running away is still being oriented by the thing you flee. Ivan Ilyich never found a mirror. Pahom found one, but it was the wrong kind. Both died without knowing who they were. There is a third possibility that Tolstoy does not write about directly, but that his two stories together imply. What if someone found a true mirror? A mirror that showed them who they actually were? This would require several things. First, the mirror would have to exist. The piano would have to be present in the village. The ball would have to be available. The conditions for revelation would have to be met. Second, the person would have to recognize it. Not every mirror that appears is true. Many are false. The person would have to distinguish between mirrors that reveal and mirrors that distort. Third, the person would have to bear what they saw. A true mirror does not always show pleasant things. It shows what is. The person would have to be willing to see themselves as they are, not as they wish to be or as others wish them to be. This is rare. This is perhaps the rarest thing. Most people are Ivan Ilyich, living correctly according to mirrors they never questioned. Some people are Pahom, running toward mirrors that promised satisfaction and delivered only more hunger. Very few people find a true mirror, recognize it, and bear what they see. I want to be careful here, not to promise something I cannot deliver. I do not know where your true mirror is. I do not know if it exists in a form you can access. I do not know whether, if you found it, you would recognize it or be able to bear it. What I know is that the question matters, and that most people never ask it. They assume the mirrors available to them are the only mirrors that exist. They assume that if they do not see themselves clearly, it is because there is nothing clear to see. They assume that the emptiness they feel is a flaw in themselves, rather than a sign that they are looking into the wrong glass. This assumption is understandable. If you have never seen a piano, you cannot know you were meant to play one. If you have never touched a ball, you cannot know you were meant to kick it. The absence of the mirror feels like an absence in yourself, but the absence is not in yourself. The absence is in your circumstances. The talent is there, waiting, even if the revelation never comes. Ivan Ilyich had one advantage over most of us. He was given a deathbed. This sounds strange. How is dying an advantage? But consider what the deathbed gave him. It gave him clarity. It stripped away all the false mirrors, all the correct expectations, all the respectable furniture of his correct life. It left him with only the question: was it all wrong? Most people do not get this moment. They die suddenly, or they die in confusion, or they die still believing that the mirrors they looked into were true. They never have the awful, liberating experience of seeing through the glass. Ivan's deathbed was terrible, but it was also a kind of gift. It was the first true mirror he ever found, and it showed him in his final hours that he had been a stranger to himself all along. We do not have to wait for the deathbed. The question Ivan asked in his final moments is available to us now. Was it all wrong? Are the mirrors I am looking into showing me something true? Or am I living a life that will feel, at the end, like it belonged to someone else? This is not a comfortable question. It is easier to keep walking the path, to keep looking into the mirrors that are provided, to keep doing what is correct and hoping that correctness will somehow transform into meaning. But correctness does not transform into meaning. Pahom was correct that land is valuable. He was correct that more land means more security. He was correct all the way to his grave, which measured 6 feet by 2. I want to return to where we started. How would you discover a talent for football in a place that has no ball? The honest answer is that you might not. You might live your whole life without ever touching the thing that would have revealed you. This is a tragedy, and it is a tragedy that cannot always be avoided. Some people are born in places without pianos. Some people never encounter the conditions for their revelation. But there is another honest answer, one that offers something other than resignation. You might not be able to find every mirror, but you can stop staring into mirrors that you know are false. You can step away from the glass that shows you what society expects, what your parents wanted, what your peers are doing. You can admit that the reflection you have been accepting is not necessarily you. This does not guarantee that you will find the true mirror. It only creates the possibility. It clears the space. And sometimes clearing the space is enough. Sometimes when you stop looking into false mirrors, the true one appears. Not because it was hidden, but because you were too busy looking elsewhere to notice it. There is a moment in the Death of Ivan Ilyich that I think about often. Ivan is in pain, not just physical pain, the pain of his wasted life. And in this pain, he asks himself whether there was ever a time when he was truly alive, a time before the correct path, before the respectable career, before the furniture and the friends and the endless performance of a life he did not choose. He remembers childhood. He remembers the taste of a particular French plum. He remembers the smell of a leather ball. Small things, sensory things, things that existed before anyone told him who he was supposed to be. And he notices something devastating. The further back he goes in memory, the more real his life seems. Childhood was vivid. Youth was less so. Adulthood was a blur of correctness, each day interchangeable with the next. The more successful he became, the less alive he was. Tolstoy writes, "It is as if I had been going downhill while I imagined I was going up." Ivan thought he was ascending. Career, status, respect. Each step seemed like progress, but each step was taking him further from himself. He was climbing a ladder that was leaning against the wrong wall. This memory does not save Ivan. He still dies, but it tells him something important. It tells him that there was a true self once, that the stranger he became was not who he always was, that somewhere beneath the correct life, the correct man, the correct mirrors, something real existed. The child who tasted the French plum was real. The man who collected correct furniture was a performance. And Ivan spent his entire adult life perfecting the performance while the real person starved in the basement. This is the hope hidden inside Tolstoy's despair. The true self exists. It may be buried. It may have been starved of its mirrors for decades, but it exists. The pianist's hands are still there, even if no piano ever arrived. The footballer's instinct remains, even without the ball. The question is not whether you have a true self. You do. The question is whether you will find the mirror before the deathbed finds you. I cannot tell you what your mirror is. No one can tell you that. If someone claims to know what would reveal you, they are probably selling another false mirror, another career, another path, another way of being correct that will feel, in the end, like someone else's life. What I can tell you is this: the emptiness you feel is not proof that you are empty. It is proof that you are looking into the wrong glass. The dissatisfaction that haunts you is not a flaw. It is a signal. Something in you knows that this is not where you belong, even if you cannot name what that something is. Ivan Ilyich heard that signal only at the end. Pahom never heard it at all. He ran until his heart exploded, convinced that the next field, the next acre, the next horizon would be the one that finally made him whole. You do not have to be Ivan. You do not have to be Pahom. You can stop. You can question the mirrors. You can admit that you do not know who you are, and that this not knowing is not a failure, but a beginning. Somewhere, there is a mirror that would show you yourself, the real one, the one that has been waiting, perhaps your whole life, for you to step in front of it. I do not know where it is. I do not know if you will find it, but I know it exists, and I know that looking for it is better than dying in front of mirrors that were never true. The ball is somewhere. The piano is somewhere. The thing that would reveal you exists, even if you have not found it yet. The only question is whether you will keep walking the path that was given to you, or whether you will go looking for the mirror that is yours. Ivan Ilyich waited until he was dying to ask this question. You do not have to wait.